once every, 3 or so months, you get your congregations come together. And what do you do when they come together?
So we just had our first one on Pentecost, and this was a dream of mine to see our congregations begin to gather together to seek God's face, really in response to Jesus' prayer in John 17, that the church would be united and would be one, and that would be a testimony to the world. It's one of my deeply held convictions that if the church is simply the church, that itself is a testimony. Paul said to the Thessalonians that their existence as a church, their faith, caused the word to sound forth throughout that entire region. Just the fact that they existed as a community was sending the gospel forth. And so that's a deeply held conviction of mine. And so we decided on Pentecost we would bring our congregations together, and we weren't sure what to expect. And we said, we're going to come together and we're going to pray. There's a temptation with 6 pastors to say we each need to bring a word, we each need to bring a sermon.
6 sermons, yeah.
And we'd end up with a 5-hour service that no one would want to be part of. And this is the wonderful thing about our particular group is all of our egos are checked at the door. Nobody's here trying to run the thing. There's no leader. It's just the 6 of us coming together. And so we said, our people just need to hear us pray and to pray with each other. And so what we did is we set up circles of chairs. And because it was Pentecost, we followed the Acts 1 model of having people draw lots as they came in to assign seats in a circle so that we would be sure to mix it up and have people sitting with people that weren't from their congregation. And then each of us started off a time of prayer around different focuses. And we prayed for the kingdom of God, we prayed for our city, and we prayed for our congregations. And the Spirit of God was very present in that space. And we were surprised pleasantly that we had filled the space that we had a little bit beyond capacity. So there were about 120, 130 of us in the room that we had. And as we prayed, it was clear that there was an initial moment of awkwardness.
Sure.
And so I opened and I said, it's Pentecost. And so I'm thinking back to those original 120 believers. There's about 120 of us here in this room. And I said, those initial believers, they were definitely reformed. They had been transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ. They were definitely Baptists. The first thing they did was baptize 3,000 people. They were definitely Pentecostal charismatics, and they were Orthodox and Catholic in the best sense of those words. And so in that spirit, we come together tonight. And that got some chuckles and some laughs and alleviated some of that tense awkwardness. And the rest of the time was just a real blessed and united time of prayer. And afterwards, people from all the different congregations came up to each of us pastors and said, so when are we doing the next one?
That is so good.
And we hadn't had a plan for that. And so immediately we got together the next Wednesday as pastors and said, all right, we need to plan the next one.
Yeah.
And so we said every time there's a 5th Sunday, we'll plan to have those. And so we just met yesterday to plan the gathering for July 30th, and it'll be a similar format.
Is it an evening then, a Sunday
It'll be
evening?
a Sunday evening, 6 to 7:30, and we'll be meeting again at Berean Baptist. It worked out for us to host. We'd like to see the other churches host as well, but with summer schedules, it was a challenge. And anyone would be welcome to join us. It's certainly not limited to those 6 congregations.
That's wonderful. So do you also, during that service, divide up into small groups and have people pray?
Everyone is in a small circle, and so the prayer is happening in those small circles to give as many people the opportunity to pray as possible. And to meet, our hope is that these relationships develop across our churches, that people in each congregation know one another, and that produces a sense of partnership. We believe that the prayer is laying the groundwork for God to do a work in our city, and we're seeking His will and His guidance to come together around that.
Well, that is really exciting, and I want to see that replicated throughout